From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Furniture and Mattress 86 is stocked with mattresses. Mattresses starting at $149. Try our 120-night trial. Mattresses come with a 20-year warranty. Up to 72 months, 0 interest. Free local delivery and pickup. Furniture and Mattress 86 on Merchant Avenue across from the post office in Reading. If you find it for less, you should buy it.
Hello everyone, I'm Meteorologist Mike Krueger. Let's take a look at our weather headlines to kind of get things started here. We do have more afternoon showers and thunderstorms today. It's not going to be as active for some of you, but it's mainly going to be the north and east of the valley here. I think Trinity County may see a bit of a break. Western Siskiyou County may see a bit of a break with the potential for, unfortunately, new lightning-sparked fires here this week. This week also, it is warmer. You may have already noticed it yesterday. You're going to notice it again today and the rest of the week, but still mainly below normal and for the most part, below 100 degrees, and you'll see what I mean by that here in our deeper dive forecast in just a bit. But taking a look at your Krueger's Quickcast for your Tuesday, July 29th, it's going to be a mild start to the day. I mean, not as cool as it has been since last week, but 74 degrees for the valley by 8 o'clock in the morning. Mainly 60s for the higher elevations and the coast temperatures, mid-50s, and some of that patchy, dense fog in some areas. Now, the area of low pressure spinning over the Gulf of Alaska, that's going to stay put. It's really not going anywhere for the rest of the week. That is keeping our temperatures at bay, despite the fact that it is warmer than it has been over the last several days. Let's take a look at the HRRR forecast model, and it's not quite as aggressive as our in-house forecast model. Quite honestly, our in-house forecast model has actually been doing a little bit better of a job than the HRRR forecast, but you can see a lot of the activity is really staying confined off into Modoc and Lassen counties. Now, I do like how far south, not like, but I am agreeing with and feel good about that solution right there. Now, I do want to paint a little bit more rain and thunderstorm activity, and especially in central and eastern Siskiyou County, but you get the idea. I think we're going to see a break for western Siskiyou, for Trinity County for today, but that will all probably change by tomorrow. So for today, we've got temperatures a little bit warmer. Mid to upper 90s. Some of us may touch 100 degrees this afternoon. Yes, it's going to happen, most likely. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s, mainly 80s and even some 90s for some of the higher elevations. And you can see the best chances for thunderstorms to the north and east of the valley. Overdoing it, I think, for places like Etna and Happy Camp. I think Scott Valley, for example, after your thunderstorms that you did see yesterday, you may see a bit of a break here for today. Let's take a look at that 7-day outlook for the valley. Temperatures just hovering in the upper 90s for Reading, mid to upper 90s in Red Bluff, and mid 90s on average for Chico. For the coast, low 60s. Inland, upper 80s to low 90s. For Trinity County, mid 90s on average. Your best chances for thunderstorms will be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. For Siskiyou, Modoc County, the Eastern Mountains, a chance for thunderstorms each and every single day this week. I think we'll see a break overall on Saturday, and then maybe another round of thunderstorms come Sunday. All right, so yes, we've got more of this activity here. Dry lightning strikes is going to be one of the biggest threats and concerns. All right, that's a look at Krueger's Quickcast. Let's get you into your deeper dive, actually more into the fires here before we even get to the deeper dive. But I do want you to just note that there is a 24-hour streaming channel that you have access to. It's available anywhere Weather NorCal is available. On the website, the free Weather NorCal app, Roku, Amazon Fire Stick, anywhere YouTube is available, including your smart TV. Just search for Weather NorCal and subscribe to that YouTube channel while you're at it. Here's your fire weather update here, sponsored by Garmin's Tractor Service. So really just want to show you the activity we saw yesterday. A lot of lightning strikes really just surrounding the valley. Western Tehama County in particular did see a lot of lightning strikes. We did see some lightning strikes in Trinity, Siskiyou, Modoc, Lassen counties, right? A lot of lightning strikes out there yesterday, and unfortunately, most likely some new fire starts as a result. So let's take a look at the activity, the fire tracker. You have to look closely. You see some yellow dots there to the north and east of Hoopa. That is the Butler fire, and that's really where we're seeing the most recent activity, if you will. But latest information coming in from the Green fire as of yesterday evening at 5:04 p.m. little over 19,000 acres. And really the main number that's changed is the containment number, which is going up at 82% containment. So that is really good to see there. We take you out to the Butler fire. As of 6:58 p.m. yesterday, it has gone up to about little over 21,000 acres, but the containment number has gone up to 47% containment. And some of the evacuation orders have been downgraded to evacuation warnings. And some of the evacuation warnings have been downgraded to just normal status. So we are seeing improvement to where the firefighters are feeling confident that they can start, lifting some of the evacuation orders and downgrading them to evacuation warnings, and evacuation warnings, taking them out completely. So that is progress. We're getting progress on the Butler fire. And you take a look at the Summit fire. This hasn't changed. No new updates as of July 21st, still at about 90% containment. Now, one of the things that you can see here when we look at the Butler fire is look at the amount of smoke it's producing, or lack thereof, really. So that smoke is certainly going to be something that will maybe produce some haze out towards northern Trinity County and southwestern Siskiyou County. But overall, we're not seeing as much smoke out there because the fires are starting to kind of just settle down a bit, especially the Butler fire, that's where we've seen most of that smoke. All right, before we get to the deeper dive forecast, just want to remind you that, as you know, I give a detailed outlook at the fires, what's going on with the fires, and even the fire weather forecast. But don't do as much of that detail for the noon and evening update. So you can always check the latest on the fires here at weathernorcal.com. Click on the fire danger section and you will be good to go with all the information that you need. All right, let's go ahead and take a look now at the forecast winds. And the forecast winds really is just something I show every day because I want to really illustrate the fact that we're really not seeing any major wind events heading our way. And you can see we're still seeing those afternoon breezy conditions here. Here's 5 o'clock today. A little bit of that south wind, 15, maybe close to 20 miles per hour. A little breezy off to the east. But this is nothing alarming, folks. This is nothing unusual that we're seeing here. And that's the case going into tomorrow. However, with the potential for those thunderstorms, and I do think that tomorrow will be more widespread and potential for better chances for severe thunderstorms, which would mean some pretty gusty winds. I think we're going to see a lot of that off to the east here. So these winds that you see here are going to be mainly thunderstorm induced. That is, the thunderstorms develop, they produce very gusty winds, and that's what the forecast model is picking up on. And you can see here, even just west of the valley. So some of those thunderstorms getting close to the valley tomorrow. And when we take a look at Futurecast, you'll see why I may be including a potential for some activity even for the valley by tomorrow. Now, taking a look at the fire weather alerts, this is for tomorrow. This is for today. Bottom line, we've got thunderstorms each and every single afternoon, and the threat for dry lightning will be the case. So really, all week long, we're going to see fire weather watches and red flag warnings, but just know it just depends on where you are and where those thunderstorms develop. Fire weather risk is getting closer to that moderate to even high range here for today. For your Wednesday, we're seeing even more orange popping up on the map. Again, potential because of the dry conditions. It's getting warmer this week. Remember last week it was mainly low to moderate because it was cooler out there. But now that the temperatures are increasing, we're seeing that fire weather risk here increase as well. That's staying put. This is going to be pretty much something I'll be talking about. You see how really this is a loop from the last 12 hours? It hasn't budged. It's just sitting and spinning there. So as a result, this heat, as it tries to build to the west, it can't because it's butting up against this, preventing a lot of that heat from building in. Now, yes, it is warmer this week, but you'll also notice some of that monsoon moisture from the desert southwest has moved on in as well. Now, I think the Storm Prediction Center is doing a pretty decent job with where most of the thunderstorms will be. I think mainly north and east of the valley. I don't think Bernie will get caught up in any of those thunderstorms, but you can see the best potential for those dry lightning strikes here for today. So we go into tomorrow, and you can see the potential for more thunderstorms. Now, it's going to spread a little bit more to the west. I want to bring this a little bit more down to the south as well, so surrounding the valley. And then tomorrow, that's where you have the best potential for dry lightning strikes. And then look at this. For almost all of Northern California, with the exception of the coast, you've got a chance for thunderstorms. I don't think the valley on Thursday may see that activity, but we'll see. Again, it's Wednesday that we're seeing some of that activity roll in from the west, so we could possibly even see that on Thursday as well. All right, so let's walk you through the timing of this. Let's take a look at what our in-house forecast model is indicating. You see by midday, not much. In fact, I don't really expect to see a ton of activity today. You can see as we go into 3 p.m., we're beginning to see mainly in northeastern Lassen and into eastern portions of Modoc County. But then it kind of flares up a little bit more later this afternoon and closer to the evening hours. You can see here, we are seeing now, when we're looking at the HRRR forecast model a little bit earlier, you noticed it was a little bit more isolated in nature for really all of Lassen County. So that's why I think Susanville, places like Lake Almanor and Lassen Park could see some thunderstorms. But to the west of that, Bernie, Fall River Mills, I think your chances are slimmer, but Aden, you could see some of that. Central eastern Siskiyou County. West of that, say for example, Scott Valley, where you saw some activity yesterday, I think you may see a bit of a break, and I think we're going to see a bit of a break from the activity for Trinity County today as well. Then by tonight, that's all pretty much done with. And then we have a disturbance which is going to be coming in from the east. That's going to be working its way westward, and so through the morning hours we've got that chance for some activity here for the eastern mountains, and then eventually those thunderstorms popping up. Now this is what I was talking about on Wednesday. I do think we got a potential for some more widespread thunderstorms, mainly in the mountains through the afternoon on Wednesday, but you can see some of that may work its way down from Trinity County down into the western portions of the valley. So places like Redding, Anderson, Cottonwood, Red Bluff. Could you see a stray shower Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, maybe even some isolated lightning strikes? That is not out of the question. So that is something that we have to be on the lookout for. But the bulk of the heavier and stronger activity will be to the north in Siskiyou and Modoc counties. Now 10 o'clock Wednesday night, we still have some activity most likely lingering around Modoc County, but that's pretty much done with before midnight. And then you can see as we go into your Thursday, at least through midday, we're beginning to see that activity begin to redevelop. But I don't think it's going to be quite as severe on Thursday. Just kind of a only time will tell type of situation here. Let's take a look at our longer range forecast model. You can see here as we go into your Friday afternoon, Thursday afternoon, the thunderstorms in the mountains. Friday afternoon, we're seeing those thunderstorms in the mountains. Now this model for Saturday is keeping it fairly dry, as well as Sunday. The European forecast model is also showing dry conditions for the most part on Saturday, but Sunday, maybe another chance rolling in. So I'm going to keep that in the forecast for now. But looking at the temperature outlook, we're near normal, right, through the next 6 to 10 days. That's expected. Temperatures in the mid to upper 90s in the valley, even around 100 degrees for some of the warmer spots. Cooler off to our east and warmer to the east of us as well. So that's the area of low pressure I was talking about. See how it's just pretty much staying put? It's going to wobble around a little bit here through this week. This heat can't build in because it's butting up against that area of low pressure. But eventually what will happen is that area of low pressure is going to weaken and get nudged to the north. And then eventually we're going to start to see some heat build in from the south. And really, it's all eventually going to start working against us, that eventually I think we could see a bit of a heat wave coming in. It may not even be toward the end of next week. It may be a little bit beyond that as well. So still some uncertainty as far as when we start to see some of the bigger heat move in, but it looks like it could be approaching us near the end of next week. So we still have a long way to go, but we are picking up on that a little bit here from the Climate Prediction Center, looking out over the next 8 to 14 days, right? As you can see here, we're getting in that warmer than normal category. So that's some of that bigger heat coming in probably closer to the middle of next month, middle of August, right? So take a look at the 10-day trend. It's fairly level, right? Basically upper 90s for Redding. Some days could get in the mid 90s, some days around 100 degrees, but generally around or just below that normal temperature for the year, for this time of the year. Now, you look at the July temperatures, this is something I've been talking about over the last few days, is that we've been looking at quite a spread here. We saw the hottest day of the year on July 11th. We saw really the coolest day of the summer so far at 85 degrees, right? Just absolute, not really the coolest, but one of the coolest, 85 degrees. But look at a lot of the blue on the map here. And we're probably going to continue to see a lot of blues out here Maybe getting closer to near average here for today and really other parts of the week, but you get the idea. So far, so good. Even some of you making comments on those social media posts saying, so far it's been a pretty nice summer. It hasn't been as hot as we typically get around here. So I think we can really count our blessings on that one. But yes, we could see some heat later next month. Take a look at our lake levels, though. You can still see fairly healthy. I always like to look at that historical average. Where are we typically this time of the year? And yes, we are above that, so that's always good to see. If you like to get out there and fish or get on that houseboat, looks like you're in pretty good shape. Wave heights today are not going to be much of an issue, although they may start to increase a little bit here as we go into your Wednesday. But no small current advisories as of yet. Really no advisories at all, with those northwest winds at about 5 to 10 knots and your waves from the north at 3 feet at about 5 seconds. All right, let's take a look at your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. Temperatures mid to upper 90s here. I think we're going to see a break from the thunderstorms in Trinity County today, but by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you've got some more thunderstorms in the forecast. 68 degrees for Blue Lake, 88 degrees for Alder Point. Temperatures in the low to even some mid 60s for the immediate coast. For the inland areas, dry. I don't think you'll see any thunderstorms at all this week. Most of it will be off to our east. Now, are there places like, say, Orleans, Hoopa, Willow Creek? Could you get caught up in the very western fringe of some of that activity? Listen, it's not out of the question, but for now, it doesn't look all that promising. For Siskiyou County, I would say that Happy Camp, Fort Jones, Etna, I think you're all going to be dry today. Yesterday was quite active out in Scott Valley. I don't think that'll be the case today. I think most of it will be off to your east here and take you off to Modoc County. All of Modoc County will be looking at those thunderstorms here, at least a chance for it, as we do have those isolated thunderstorms. I mean, and look at this. It looks really ominous, right? It's not going to be every day that it's going to be super severe and it's a big major issue, but every day there will be that potential for lightning, with the exception of Saturday. Your eastern mountains neighborhood forecast, temperatures in the 80s and 90s, although Viola, one of the cooler spots, at about 78. So I do think maybe Fall River Mills, but Bernie, westward and south of that, chances for thunderstorms are pretty slim. Chester, eastward and southward, maybe a slight chance coming into there. And you can see, looking at Susanville, right, all the way through the end of the weekend, although Saturday may be a bit of a break. For the Valley neighborhood forecast to the south, you're talking temperatures in the mid-90s on average. Some of the cooler spots, cooler, right, at 93 degrees for Biggs, 97 for Los Molinos, and Corning about 95 degrees. Let's take a look at that 7-day forecast for Chico. And basically, we're talking mid-90s for the next 7 days. 96 degrees on Saturday, 93 on Sunday, and 95 degrees on Monday. 100 degrees for the city of Shasta Lake and Redding, as well as Anderson. 101 for Palo Cedro, 98 for Red Bluff. Red Bluff most likely staying below 100 degrees over the next 7 days, but Redding, maybe today getting up to as high as 100 degrees. Generally upper 90s, and pretty much keeping that way through the weekend and into early next week. All right, that's your morning update. I'll be back again at noon. Have yourselves a great morning.
Barr & Mudford is a top, established firm here in the North State. Founded over a half-century ago, Barr & Mudford is protecting the rights of our neighbors and community. We take our commitment to our clients very seriously and provide a level of excellence unrivaled in the North State. Barr & Mudford, standing up for the rights of our neighbors and our beautiful community, serving Northern California with excellence.